it was a 13-day shoot,
Yeah.
and you had to do 17
remind me.
pages. Yeah, so
That's hilarious. Then we should have put that on the T-shirt.
All right, so without further ado, let's welcome to the Old Brother podcast, David James, folks.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate
Hey,
it.
David.
How you doing?
nice to see you.
Good. How
So-
are you guys?
Good, man. It's good to have you on the podcast. Thanks for making a little bit of adjustment in the schedule. Appreciate that. And so you may have just answered one of the questions, which is, what do we call you? It was David, DJ,
David
You can call me
Andrews.
Susan if you like. No, yeah, David's fine. I'm sure my mom would appreciate that. Everyone calls me. Most people just say, "Hey, you."
Well,
Yeah,
if we called you David Andrew, I think should be like, wait a sec. Or you'd be like, is mom?
Exactly. Am I in
No.
trouble? Yeah. But it's a weird thing too, because I have this weird. Mike knows this, but it's been Dan really my whole life, or Danny. My birth name is Daniel, and I have a whole faction of people like kind of at work that know me as Daniel, and then this other group. It's a whole thing. I never should have started it, but that's too long a story, David. So
That's for the
wanna know.
director's cut.
that's
Yeah,
for the
Let
director's.
me
Yeah, that'll
join
be
you
on the
guys. Let's go
extras.
full black T-shirt.
Hey, there we
There
go.
we go.
Yeah,
There we
which
go.
I never usually do. I'm usually wearing like an old brother. Garb
Mine's
or
an old
something.
brother, but
Mike's got it,
can't
yeah.
see it.
I'm still
Yeah, yours
waiting
is-
on mine. I thought mine would come in the mail.
Yours is in
but-
the mail, David.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? I did pull out. We have. You don't want to know how many "Oh Brother" mugs we have. Like, there's different variations on this thing, but I thought tonight I would pull out the Halloween one. Just
Oh,
kinda,
hell yes.
let's talk about horror. So yeah, and congratulations on Bag of Lies, which of course we've seen. Yeah,
Thank
and
you. very much.
gotta say right at the top. So we've done our homework. We like to think that we're studied before we bring on guests, and
You got
so
some notes for me?
we tried. Yeah, we got a long list. I got a whole couple 3 pages, but
Well, you were the invisible man before Bag of Lies.
right.
You
And
know,
you look at
according to us.
your IMDb, and it's like, okay, what's he what's he hiding in his? Where's the skeletons, David? There's not. It's like you look like you came out of nowhere and just jumped into directing a feature film. So
for a major studio.
what's the story with that? Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of my mom, she's the only one who knows where the bodies are buried. But
As most
uh,
moms do, yeah.
exactly. Yeah. No, I mean, so the hilarious part about all of it is that there are like 1,200 David Jameses on IMDb, and
Sure.
every time I've hopped on a project, they create a new one. So I've like kind of journeymaned around doing a lot of different, department positions. But I've spent the last 10 years kind of doing a lot of corporate directing and DP work. And then I've been producing like low budget stuff in my hometown of Cincinnati. I did a show called Wildfire. It's like an anthology show that may or may not still be on Prime. I'm not sure. Everyone keeps searching for it and finding the one about horses from 2005. I don't know what that is, but yeah, as of recently, I've been doing a lot of grip work on features. There's one called Bang Bang with Tim Blake Nelson that just got into Tribeca, so I was the key grip on that. So that was a lot of fun. And that kind of between that and being a DP and writing forever and no one ever really seeing a lot of it, I had already had a lot of legs up on stepping into directing a feature, so I hit the ground running.
Plus,
cool.
you have a ton of short films, right? Including Bag of Lies, which stars you.
Me, yeah,
That's right, which I did see that. I watched that earlier today, dude.
yeah, that was about 50 pounds ago for me. But yeah, that was 3 years ago. That was so Nick Laughlin, who was one of the original writers on the script. He wrote and directed the short. I had just moved back from LA. I love acting, but I don't pursue it professionally because there are better, skinnier people doing it.
Was there ever a thought or consideration that you would also star in it too, or that wasn't even
There
an
was,
idea?
10 seconds in the shower one day, and then I hopped on the phone with Jake, my co-producer on the movie, and he was like, "Yeah, not a chance, not a
And
chance."
Patrick was fantastic. He was really good
Yeah.
in it. The whole cast.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I loved working with this cast, especially Patrick and Brandy. They are just, oh God, they are just the best to work with. They're really collaborative, but they're very, they challenge you to make things better, especially in prep. We had a lot of I got to kind of pull them in for, God, I think about 2 weeks of just kind of table reads and rehearsals and whatnot. And,
Mm.
Nice.
just,
Well, it was a 13-day shoot,
yeah.
and you had to do
Don't
72
remind me.
pages. Yeah.
Right.
So if you did act in it, that would have been crazy tough. These were actual locations. These weren't sets.
Yeah, was this in
because-
Ohio?
Yeah, this is in the humble the humble city of Cincinnati.
Movie
Yeah,
Mecca.
so yeah.
That's right.
I will say the tax incentive has brought a lot here.
Oh, good.
Todd Haynes shot Carol here like 10, 11 years ago.
There's a big challenge in that because you had a lot of going around corners with the camera. I thought it might have been a set because of the way it was shot.
How tight it is, yeah.
It's weirdly, I think it's just the way that I freebase David Fincher movies. I think that's kind of just how I shot it anyways,
Yeah.
It's some kind of combination of Fincher and Soderbergh, but yeah, no, it was crazy. Like, it was the most fun in the world making that movie, and also so stressful because, like you said, 13 days was no.
And for people who don't know about movie making, there's sometimes a half a page takes a week.
Yeah.
So to do that, I was like super impressed by that.
Now you obviously had a relationship with Patrick because he's in the short.
Mhm.
What about the rest of the cast? What was that process like, bringing the rest of the group together?
So I met Brandy on the show Wildfire that I produced back in, I think it came out, poorly timed. It came out in like early 2020. So everyone was like, binging The Office and all their comfort shows and not watching $12 budget indies. But I met her on that. She was in an episode that a friend of mine directed. He was actually Jim Bailey, who did the score and the sound design on this film.
Yeah.
So she and Patrick starred in that, and I was just blown away by her skills. And then I went and saw her in some theater work, and I was like, oh, okay, she's like one of those, she's this dual threat, and
Right.
just fearless, and just rolls with every punch that you can give her, and that just brought so many little cool ideas to there's the scene where there's kind of like the relentless moment in the second act of the film where it just kind of seems like one nightmare after the other for Matt.
Mhm.
And so it's right after, it's like that weird phone call, and he thinks, the operator, who's also Brandy's voice, because it's the bag
Right.
messing with him. So he wakes up in his room, and then Claire comes into his room, and we think it's over for a little while. And right before she gets into his bed, she's like, you know what I want? And she was like, and we had kind of done this thing with the hand symbol,
Mhm.
and she was like, what if I'm like doing this, like, let's not give it away, but like, what if I'm doing, and I was like, oh my God, I love you. Like, yes,
That's
I'm
great.
going to tell everyone it was my idea, but yes.
Yeah, that was in the short too. The hand deal, which I guess we should. Can you just give a brief, synopsis of the film for folks that haven't seen it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. So Bag of Lies revolves around Matthew Quimby, whose wife Claire is terminally ill, and he gets a ancient relic from a stranger, and to his confusion, it's just this giant burlap sack. The stranger says, do this ritual, don't talk to the bag, don't look at the bag, don't touch the bag. In
Right.
3 days, she's going to be better. And from the title, I'm sure we can all, assume that
Mhm.
things
He
get
didn't
a little
he didn't
squirrely.
really follow the rules so
Yeah.
well.
It sounds like most
Yeah.
relationships too. Don't
Yeah,
don't talk to
absolutely.
me, don't touch me, get the hell away from
Exactly.
me.
Give me
Yeah.
3 days and I'll be better.
Yeah, but now,
Uh,
what about the lumberjack? I want to call him John Wells. How did he
Oh.
come into this? Because he's a beast of a guy.
God, yeah, I heard Marvel's looking for their next Wolverine. I'm gonna recommend.
he could pull it off. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So he was a referral from Brandy. She had
Okay.
worked with him on something that I can't recall, but she was like, and I looked him up and I was like, he's an action star. What do you mean? She's like, shut up, like talk to him, like this guy, and he's just an absolute sweetheart and a true collaborator. And we really became pals as well. And he brought a lot of kind of like subtle care to the character. I think the script almost made it more melodramatic, and John like went the other way with it. And I was like, oh hell yes.
Now it says the credits say it was written by you, but I think you give a lot of credit to Nick
Yeah,
primarily, and I know Joe was in there too as a writer.
yeah, absolutely.
But you there's
So
a personal angle for you.
I'll get into the personal angle, but yeah, essentially how it happened was Joe and I just always loved Nick's short. And so about 3 months before I got an opportunity to pitch, Joe and I asked Nick if we could rewrite the short and do it with a budget. And Joe was going to produce and I was going to direct. And we were, I think, going to get Patrick to play the role. Um, so Joe and I rewrote the script in our own image, sent it to Nick. He was like, "Oh shit, I wish I would have thought of that. Great job, God bless." And then that was that. And then um, oddly enough, I was the key grip on that movie Bang Bang I was telling you about, where I met Cole Payne, the executive producer on Bag of Lies, and that opportunity kind of came about where he was like, I produce for Epic, smaller budget horror films, show me what you got. I was like, okay,
Hmm.
Nick, let me turn this into a feature. And he was like, yeah, can I work on it? I was like, absolutely. So I fired myself and let him and Joe work on it together because they're both brilliant. And they wrote like 18 different treatments, and it was a combination of like, you know, them not being happy at times. They're like, we can do better. Cole was like, yeah, you can. And sometimes I was like, yeah, absolutely, do better. I'm burning this one, start over. No, but so they took it to they did about 18 treatments and a first draft. And I loved their draft, but it was like holy budget Batman. I just
Right.
can't,
Yeah.
I can't do it. And they were both like, well, kind of works out because we just got offers to go write other things. So I was like, perfect. I'll just, I have a lot of therapy I got to get out, which leads me to my personal connection to the material. My dad had remarried 7 years ago, and then we lost my stepmom to cancer the year after,
Mm.
and so it was really it was really tough to watch him go through that. And obviously, I mean, like it affected me too, but it was really just hard watching him and the rest of the family go through that. And I had been working on something in terms of like what would I do if I were to tackle something like that, and I don't think I was mature enough at the time to write about it, but enough time had passed. And also
Mhm.
kind of plugging it into the horror genre was like, okay, cool. I can also rip a page out of like, Tarantino revisionist history, like, okay, I want to talk about this, but also there's magic involved. So
Right.
we can do like a little bit of a weird ending. Is it happy? Is it not? We'll see in the sequel, kind of a thing.
Yeah, as
But
much as it is horror, it's also like psychological thriller at
Mhm.
the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was, that was a lot of my doing, was basically kind of taking these insane expensive scares that Nick and Joe did and just kind of replacing them with, well, the bag's messing with him, so let's get, if we don't have the money to like blow out, let's go smaller.
Mhm.
And so yeah, that's where a lot of the
So,
psychological bits came from.
did you know ahead of time the budget? I mean, were you greenlit before the final script, or did that come after you gave him the final script?
Actually, because there were so many iterations with Nick and Joe, we were like, Jake and I were kind of like, God, we might have to pitch something else. This has been,
Mm.
and I was like, all right, I'm going to do a draft and then we'll see what we see. And that's what got us the green light.
For
Yeah.
people who wanna see it, it's right now you can, get it on Amazon Prime, but the
Mhm.
DVD's coming or the Blu-ray's coming. I think
Mhm.
it says on Amazon
The
June 11th, but I
mm.
also read July, so you can probably tell us.
Yeah, I believe Blu-ray will be June 11th. I'm 99% sure that's accurate. And then for those who haven't bought it yet or won't be buying the Blu-ray, number one, how dare you? But number two, it will be. I believe they are also putting it on Tubi on July 5th.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
wow.
Oh,
So it'll be streaming later this summer.
good for the Independence weekend. That'll be good. That's a good time.
Absolutely.
Now,
And I'm
with the germ of the idea, coming from this personal story, is that a conversation that you had with your father about, how I'm just curious of how that was
You know,
received. I don't Was that a sensitive thing or
yeah, I mean, so sensitive that I I think I just had too much respect for his privacy that we had spoken over the years about everything, but there was,
yeah.
I couldn't kind of like, show up with or I could have, but he wouldn't have turned me away, but I didn't want to show up with like a yellow pad and a recorder and be like, okay, tell me.
Right.
right.
But, so it was a combination of, what I had witnessed and filling in the blanks with like, okay, since Matt is closer to my age, like what would I do? How would I feel?
Right.
Um, so, but yeah, he watched it and
Okay.
he really liked it. He said that, and I had told him since we started shooting, like it will be a trigger warning. And he watched it and he
Mhm.
was like, I still didn't realize how much of a trigger warning it is, but good
Wow.
job. And I was like, oh, thank you. Okay, cool. So
Wow.
got the blessing, which was nice.
Yeah, it's
And
like a ultimate seal of approval there.
yeah, and that's really, I didn't analyze it at the time, but
Mhm.
that's really, I think more so than anything, what I was doing was just kind of like having I don't, maybe not having a conversation with my dad, but like sending some kind of a recognition to my dad, like,
Yeah.
which, maybe I'll get on betterhelp.com to dive further into that, but
We'll put the number up on the screen here.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You know,
exactly.
Mike was talking about budget a little bit there and thinking about like the economics of things and, all of that. Um, and as we were prepping for this, he had talked to me or mentioned to me that you may not be the biggest fan of storyboarding, which, oftentimes could, help determine perhaps your overhead, what's the story with your your
And
storyboard?
what you gotta tell them why you're bringing that up.
Well, right. Now we had a guy, Mark
Busted.
Simon. Yeah, we had Mark Simon on the show not that long ago. He's a self-proclaimed godfather of storyboarding. Really great guy, incredible resume. He's worked on almost everything you can think of.
Mhm.
So we were fascinated just to learn more about that craft and all of that. But then we learned, we're like, nah, storyboards. We're like, well, what's the deal here? So what is the deal, Dave?
I'm on his list. Oh God. Um,
Mark's coming for you.
I honestly, I first and foremost, what I will say is it's because I could never afford them. Like
Mhm.
I can't draw,
Mhm.
and
Right.
I can't hire. I couldn't afford to pay someone to do it. Um, that's the headline, so that because I don't want to diminish what all of
Sure.
my heroes do it, so or did until they became masters and don't now. But yeah, no, I think for me it was just I think it's because I spent so much time as a camera operator and a cinematographer, and just knowing the difference between um, you know what what piece of equipment makes a camera move which way, what lens will get you what you need,
Mhm.
and over the last couple of years also kind of figuring out the psychology behind camera placement, height, and move and whatnot, and what it can do to you subconsciously. So it for Brant Hackney, who was my DP on this movie,
Mhm.
he really loved that, which I was, it had kind of scared off a lot of DPs who were like, "So you're not gonna we're not gonna board this?" And I was like, "No."
There was one member of the cast, Terry, who plays Al, the bag delivery guy, and He's a guy, when you see him on screen immediately, like, okay, I know this guy. Like, it seems like a real, like, long time character actor. Was he another referral, or how did he get in the mix? He was. I wanted more. I wanted more Al.
Yeah, he was a good
Frankly.
character.
I feel like I'm repeating myself saying that everyone was a treat to work with, but like, don't let everyone else hear this that was in the cast, but him especially, because he was just gold. I got like 5 auditions, but the first one that I clicked on was Terry's, and I just like deleted the rest of the auditions and called her and said, "Can you send me his number, please?" And
Yeah,
he was
he's a
just
scene stealer for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. When we wrapped, we're like, clinking a beer, and I'm like, "Just so you know, there's gonna be about 15 minutes where you aren't the star," and just
Yeah,
But,
he's just the right amount of quirky. He's just a little,
his hair,
the hair,
it's just
yeah.
almost like a Doc Brown kind of situation going on.
yeah, but he was
Yeah, he
perfect
was
for that role.
He was, yeah. What was the editing process like for you? Because that was one of the other hats that you were wearing on this.
Yeah, it was honestly like really smooth. It took me like 2 months, but probably would have taken less time had I not had to keep working on other things. I'm pretty good at editing. I think there are moments that are a little too fast for me now, but it was just a runtime issue. I think they wanted something that wasn't a triple digit runtime.
Mhm.
So, as you guys mentioned, it was a 72-page script. The rough cut was 2 hours and 6 minutes long.
Okay.
So
I
it was
we normally never read reviews when we have a guest on, but since, I had to mine some material because your IMDb was basically, bag of lies.
yeah.
But the only 2 complaints I read were it was too long. I was like, "What?" It came in at 90 minutes.
That's a dream these
Nobody
days.
does that.
Nobody does that, yeah.
That is a bummer. Yeah, no, my favorite cut was an hour and 41. Some of the dialogue scenes that breathed a little bit more, but it was really like the horror moments, some of the horror moments that got sped up.
Mhm.
But yeah, no, I think the final tally is like 95 and a half minutes. And
Yeah, it's a nice
Mhm.
tight I mean, we're always complaining about these 2.5, 3-hour cuts that you watch them and there's so much that, you could easily snip and
oh
make it
yeah,
a more pleasant experience. But, you came in right at a nice tight window, I thought.
I
Um,
appreciate that. Yeah, it was,
Mhm.
it it wasn't hard. I think the moment that I think because I had done so many other things where you just, you take your baby and you shoot it in the head. It's like at this point, fine. You want a runtime? I'll get you your runtime.
right.
Um,
Do you have something that you're planning or working on
Yeah.
right now?
oh, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. Joe and I we have perfected the sequel.
Really?
It's ready.
Wow.
Not shot, but like it's
Okay.
ready to be pitched.
Breaking
So
news, folks.
yeah, let's if everyone could do like all the people from like the Release the Snyder Cut campaign, if we can bring all of them and get them at Epic to be like release Bag of Lies too.
There we
Right.
go.
Yeah, so we're hopeful to pitch that soon. I think they want to see how the first one does, because it's still only been like a
A
month and a half. So
Right.
and
Still
and
early.
and you can call me Al, maybe as a title, a working title? I don't know, that might work. What are some of your, inspiration? I mean, you mentioned some at the top, Soderbergh and others, I
Fincher.
I
yeah.
think Mike gave away a little influence behind him, perhaps, with one of his posters. I don't know, Mike, wasn't that?
I did. If you notice the posters, one of them is up there specifically for you. Do you know which one?
It's Revenge of the Sith, right?
Uh,
No, yeah. No, I'm a huge Kubrick fan. This is really gonna I promise I know how to talk to girls, but I'm gonna show you something that makes it look like I don't. But
I love this. Alright,
so
okay.
I have 2001: A Space Odyssey
Oh, that's
wow.
great.
tattooed right there, and
Open
then
the
I have
pod bay doors, Hal.
a Clockwork Orange right
Oh,
there.
that's great.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I'm
He
slowly
wins.
working up my Kubrick sleeve. But uh, but yeah, no, that's a great. Thank you very much for that. I'll send you Bag of Lies mug.
We'll swap
Wait,
mugs.
yeah. So where's the Eyes Wide Shut tat gonna go? What's you get that in the works yet? That'll be an
Oh
interesting
yeah,
one.
that
Yeah.
one's going on my butt.
that would be appropriate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we would keep you all night, but one thing we do on the podcast with all the guests is we've got to get your got a little glimpse into it, I suppose, already, but we got to get David James' top 5 film list.
We are going to be here all night now.
Top 5 films. Let's do it.
Top 5 films. Okay, so I want to preface this with saying that this is my top 5 today on the spot, and also
Right,
these are
sure.
not all going to be classics. But let's see. I'm going to go for number 5. I'll go in worst to best, I guess. But so number 5 is going to be a little film called Grandma's Boy from 2005, I think it is. It is one of the most juvenile, hilarious movies I've ever seen. It's the only Happy Madison production without Adam Sandler in it. But it's Alan Covert plays a video game tester that his roommate screws him over, and he has to go live with his grandma, played by Doris Roberts. And it's just,
she's so good,
stupidly funny. It's amazing.
Yeah, it looks like we're getting Happy Gilmore too, just as a side note. But,
ooh, okay,
yeah.
Cool.
Anyways, okay, number 4.
Number 4, I will go with 2001: A Space Odyssey. It's inked on my skin, so
nice,
absolute classic. Melted my brain at many different ages for many different reasons.
So time,
and still, like I saw when Christopher Nolan did the IMAX version. I thought that was really just a treat, you know.
Yeah, no, that was special. That was God, how many years ago was that?
God, I don't even know the year it came out. I should.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. Let's see, number 3. I'm gonna go with 7.
Okay,
all right.
You know, I
classic.
think you saw a little bit of. Yeah, there you go. For people who watch
bag.
What's in the bag? That's hilarious. Then we should have put that on the T-shirt. That would have been great. We did T-shirts and for the crew, and it's like an animated picture of the bag, and then it says "Bag is life" on it.
That's cool. I like that.
Nice.
So let's see. Number 2 is gonna have to be There Will Be Blood.
Okay. There you go.
That
big
was
fans.
Let's see. For today, for my
roll.
number 1, drum roll.
Yeah.
Bag of Lies. No, I'm just kidding. No, I would say so. My number 1 is just, I'll bring it full circle since we spoke about my mom at the beginning of the podcast. My mom, when I was 4 years old, took me to see my first movie in a theater, and it was Jurassic Park. And talk about debating horror in movies or not. You know, that was especially when you're 4, it'll make you shit your pants.
Yeah.
So that was so that'll be my number 1 for today. That's a classic.
That's
for me. That movie was the time I said to myself, they can do anything now with a film. Because they brought back dinosaurs. Okay, how do you top that?
Yeah.
So
Well, bring back Daniel Day-Lewis. You can
exactly
do that.
Do it in the same way that they brought back dinosaurs. Like get his DNA.
Well, let's not even talk about deep fake and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's some scary, some wild shit out there.
Yeah. I don't want to see an AI version of
I told Mike
because
we just did a Mad Max episode, actually comes out like while we're doing this interview. And I told him, I said on YouTube there was this deep fake of Mel Gibson as the Tom Hardy role in Fury Road, and it was like, if you didn't know, you wouldn't know. It was so scary. It was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah,
that is just
right. That's criminal, right? It's criminal.
Yeah, That's
Yeah.
a bummer.
Well, David,
Um,
congrats again on Bag of Lies and your ever-growing IMDb credits. We got to get the word out there on David to build up those.
It's funny. I have like 50 credits, but I also have 50 profiles. So now I just
Right.
need to contact somebody's lawyer. Can you recommend a good one for me?
Mike could maybe take up those
Well, yeah,
services.
There we go.
Yeah,
am a
he does a
lawyer,
little
but
bit of that on the side. Yeah,
yeah.
But so is that the sequel? We might be seeing that down the road. It sounds like.
I would really, I
That'd be
would
cool.
love them. I just need them to say yes.
All
So,
right.
And
you
this,
know,
the way it ended, and I'm not giving any spoilers, it sets up for a sequel.
Mhm.
Like I had questions.
questions will be answered. A couple of characters will return. The scares will be scarier. We will have a 2-hour runtime. And there will be commentaries on sequels themselves without you realizing it.
How can people follow you or find you? If they want to check you out.
Well, I will say I save all my excitement for my movies, but I do have an Instagram, and my handle is Ernest Trippingway. I was hammered one night, I think, when I came up with that. But yeah, so that's where you can find me. I'll send me a DM. I'll start sending you funny memes. And then when I'm promoting something, I'll let you know there for sure. But
Cool.
otherwise, I'm pretty quiet. But yeah, hit me up. Let's have a chat.
Yeah,
That sounds
we
great,
will.
David. Yeah,
We
thanks
will.
for coming on again. Thanks for making the accommodation for a little bit of a later start time. But congratulations again, and good luck with the physical release when that comes out. Mike, as you can tell, is a
Yeah.
huge physical. That's what, Mike, an eighth maybe of your
Very
collection?
small portion
Yeah,
behind me.
thousands of them.
He's
but,
got a pod in his driveway with the rest of them.
Yeah,
that's
pretty
coming
much.
soon. Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave. It's nice talking to you
Yeah.
again. Congratulations, and we'll look to talk to you again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. This was a blast.
You bet.
Great, and
Take
good luck
care.
with the Blu-ray release. We'll be looking for it on June
Absolutely.
11th.
June 11th, baby.
That's
All
it.
right.
All right, David.
All right,
take
take
care.
care.
All right,
Thanks,
you
guys.
too. Bye bye.
Bye.